All right. All right. So I'm just going to do a quick little intro recording here. Peter's about to jump in. Reed may or may not show up. He's a real wizard. We don't know for sure. He may come, he may not come. Um, don't be disappointed if he shows up. Don't be disappointed if he doesn't show up. Or be how you are, actually. This is a welcome space to be how you are. But make sure you look at it. Look at the disappointment if it arises. But yeah, oh, here he is. I thought I was going to have a little longer intro here. Yo.
Hey.
All right. I was doing an intro to the show.
Oh.
Let me go ahead and let me continue it actually. Okay, so we just were in a group that I've been going to for the last month or so. I try to go every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I invited Peter to come hang out for a little bit. And yeah, so the group just ended, and I was interested in hearing Peter's thoughts. And I also have a topic too.
Okay. It was interesting. Yeah, I wanted to listen and just sort of feel like what was going on, like from the conversation perspective. And the thing I sort of felt was like I was hearing a lot of like names, like quotes and poems, and like it felt sort of like a philosophy class. But yet the interesting piece to that was that I felt that there was it was like this really like nice energy amongst like everybody on that call. It was cool. Like it was a weird sort of thing, but it was cool.
Yeah, that's it's interesting to me because the most powerful shares seem to be from people's own experience when people are speaking
Yeah.
from their vantage point of where they're experiencing.
Yeah.
And but generally, like the thing I've noticed with myself after attending for quite a while now,
Yeah.
is how uninteresting my own experience can be.
But it only seems that way.
Seems that way, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like the groups kind of brings me into just experiencing. That seems to be the value in it for me. Is it's a space where when I show up to it, that's what it's about. It's just about experiencing. So anything that I may have experienced seems to be irrelevant to what is currently unfolding.
Yeah. Dangerous though.
Dangerous.
It's dangerous. That stuff can be dangerous.
How so?
Like it's just easy to get in. It's just easy to go into rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And I just yeah, I mean you can read all the books and look at all the information, and I can apply it to myself as much as I possibly can. But if I'm sitting there putting a label on every sort of situation or every sort of experience or my own ideas even, it just takes me further and further and further and further away of just being here.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
What do you think about the practice idea?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have like, look, we've talked about this before. several times, but I just think everything's a practice, like whether I know it or not, you know. And if I do still have that interest, if I do still have that thirst to experience experience like materialism, or like experience like doing things in my life, like that's all I can do is practice, you know. um, I mean, it's great. Like I look at I look at every day as a practice. I mean, everything I do is a practice, right? Like work stuff is a practice, and reading is a practice, and going on a date is a practice, and yoga is a practice, and AA meetings are practices. Sponsorship is a practice. You know, it's all paying bills on time is a practice. It's just all sorts of stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
just one big
Where
day.
it is one big day. Where did you where did you catch the gist of the non-duality in the room, like there is no me type talk?
Yeah, and okay. So
That's what I, yeah, go, please go. Tell me what
so
you think.
philosophically, right? Like if I was looking at what was being talked about from like a technical perspective, uh, I'd say like, yeah, like that's a, like I understand what you're talking about. However, if you're spending money and you're in relationships, like romantic relationships, or if you even go to work, or if you drive a car, or I don't think it's possible. I'm not saying it's not reality. I'm not saying it's what I'm saying is that
I know what you're saying. It's I don't believe it's so it's possible when you see your, let's say, lowercase self, the character, when you see it for what it is, that's how all those things are possible.
absolutely, absolutely. But if I'm confused with what's real and what's a real experience, then I'm going to experience a lot of pain and suffering in my life.
And that's what I was trying to get at when I was sharing. I think in some senses I was trying to get at this personal doership or ownership of one's experience,
Yeah.
that there is, like, that is occurring. There's no, like, I'm in, philosophically speaking, and I understand the non-duality thing,
I
but
do too.
but we were talking about on the phone, and I think David, dude from the group, was alluding to it, was that deeper state of nothingness or just lack of care for whatever may be unfolding. Like, would that reality, right? Capital R reality, just the nullness,
Yeah, yeah,
the stillness.
yeah, yeah. It's non-attached. It's just it's an element of detachment. It's an element of like already being home. So like if I'm already home and I don't have to go home, then I can walk around in the world being at home doing whatever I want and always be at home.
And that's why it feels like I'm being done. The character of me, as it's moving through the world, driving new cars, having relationships, playing games,
Yeah.
it's all being done.
Well, yeah, no, it's being done regardless of whether I'm involved in it or not. The only thing that matters is my intentions in relationship to it. So, like, it's gonna get played. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
bet,
gonna
and
get
you can
played.
get played. You can be played in some pretty sour notes too.
Yeah, and the thing is this though, is like it's like I can either play or be played.
Right.
And neither one's right or wrong. It's just like an awareness of that. And I recognized in my own life that I could play and I wasn't going to be played anymore.
Mm, mm.
I wanted to play. I wanted to play on my own terms in my own way.
Yeah, that when I brought that into the group a few weeks ago, that concept, it was tough. It was tough. It was tough because I do feel, I feel strongly there's a level of personal responsibility and ownership of the game that you're going to play. Like it can't
100%.
like I can't just like I do see that it's all being played, but at the same time, there's this moment. There's the few places where choice arise, I think, is when you can see something and you can do something that's arbitrary, to some extent arbitrary to your own habit or your own knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I understand the idea of the whole non-duality deal. Like I get that totally. But that doesn't mean I don't experience duality. I won't experience duality.
Yeah, to me they go hand in hand. I don't think there's one or the other.
Yeah, and it's not even, it's like it's just overly it's just overly technical. It's like, and that's the thing, like I don't I don't particularly enjoy like the whole like academic thing, like the different ideas and the philosophical. I read this book in like my first year of college, and I picked it up from the bookstore, and it was like the 50 most influential philosophers of our time, and it was this big black book, and it had all of these different, it had, uh was Nietzsche was in there, they had Rousseau in there, they had like pretty much Schopenhauer was in there. Like it was just the big boys, right? And I remember reading it, and it's fascinating stuff. Like it's just fascinating. But then I get done with the book and like looking at all of these incredible thinkers. I'm going, what the fuck am I going to do with this? Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do with this? I have, I've read it. I've picked up a lot of the knowledge and the information. But like, how is this useful to me in my life experience, And that's why I always feel the dumber it is, the better it is.
Dude, I feel the same way. That's why Monty Python is like a genius, the whole troop.
Yeah, it's just dumb. Like,
Dude, and it's speaking truth, but it's dumb and you can write it off, but you can feel it.
yeah, exactly. And that's why all
Dude,
this stuff made sense for me, right? Like playing games. Like when I saw that life was a game, and I saw the sub games within the game, I was like, holy shit, this is like really dumb. Like
you can do whatever you want.
it's really stupid. And like prior to that, I had seen everything as so so big and like so challenging and so like you know, so difficult. And I couldn't come into the power that I am with that idea.
And that's
I,
what,
I couldn't move.
because what?
Well, because I was dominated by it.
Dominated by
All the seriousness,
all the ideas, all the
the bigness.
expectations, the bigness.
Yeah, the fight, the struggle, the suffer, right? Like,
You're a Peter, and Peter is stands for something.
yeah,
Peter behaves this way or that way.
yes, has to do this, needs to do that, messed up because he did that, right? All this stuff, this all outside, never home, just It's all outside, right? And then you come home one day and have that experience, and it's like, whoa. what have, what have I been doing? No wonder. No wonder.
Hmm.
And that's all I think it really is. That's all I think it really is, man, when it comes down to it. Like I don't see it being much less than that or much more. It's just that it's just being home, you know, it's being at home. And they talked about it a little bit in the group about like being comfortable with the self, and they were mincing words really between the what was it, the idea of contentment and fulfillment, or what was the word that was used? Uh,
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. Yeah, satisfaction and then fulfillment. And it's like, what difference does it make? Like, what difference does it make really? Like, I'm either home or I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I'm either moving from within or I'm moving from without.
Right.
And they're both, there never is without. But what I'm saying is that's the dualistic experience of life, you know. And Alan Watts talks about it all the time, and it's really cool stuff because he's like, and I was going to say this in the talk, but I was like, we love we love the duality.
Yeah.
We fucking love it.
Can't escape it.
What are you talking about? If I'm a
Yeah.
human being walking around in the world, and to a certain extent, I enjoy the movement from pain into freedom, just as I enjoy the freedom into pain, right? Or the freedom into suffering.
Yeah.
Now you see it, now you don't. That's what human beings love. That
Shit, even more. We love our own interests, which are strictly our own.
exactly. So I don't think personally. I think it's vitally important for human beings to come home, right? Like, and I fully believe that, like our world and the way that we experience it, if people were coming from a place of within and awareness, right, and responsibility and you know, like ownership, man, we'd have a totally different deal. Like a lot of things would be like the way we experience it would be very different. Like the games would be different. And like the energies that are associated with those things. They'd still be games, but they would have a different experience to them. But we don't see that. Like that's not really what we experience. And what we experience is most people being without, like making this, like living, experiencing life from outside the house, with little glimpses of being inside, being home, you know.
Yeah, and that was, kind of what I was alluding to when I introduced you into the group was I exhausted myself. It was like to experience that feeling of being home took me to exhaustion, mental and physical. Like I was exercising all the time, writing, recording, rapping, performing, producing. And the only glimpse I would get of it is when it was exercised from me, whatever the energy was.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I start allowing whatever the things I was dealing with to exist. Whenever I started allowing these things to exist without me trying to capture them, change them, or judge them.
Yeah, and see, that's the other piece, right? Like that's the individual philosophy. That's the individual like, I guess.
That's my own
Yeah.
philosophy.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, man. Like I don't see it that way, right? Like the way I don't see that. I don't see what you're saying that way with you, right? Like that's not how I see it. However, I'm also very well aware that it doesn't fucking matter what I see,
Wait, I'm interested in what you see.
because I'm not experiencing it.
I know, but that's
For
why it's
me,
even
for me, for
that's
me.
I know that's why it's even more important to know what you see.
Yeah. So what, like, for me, it, like, I've known you a good while now, right? And like we've had a lot of conversation, like we've done a lot of stuff together. And I don't know if it's gonna if it's happening now, but there's gonna there might be a moment down the road where you're gonna want to start to intentionally do things, right? Like intentionally create from within, right? Like, not that you're not doing that right now, but like it seems to me that it's a bit of the idea of like, you know, some winds are kind of ruffling and like flowing through the tree branches, and there's a few leaves that sort of scatter off, and then they're just kind of floating with that wind, but the leaves don't have any rudders on them, and they don't have any sails, but they're just like floating around, right? And there's a lot of peace there. There's a lot of like, hey, I'm just along for the ride, man. Like, I'm just riding. But this is the thing, and I honestly believe this. Maybe not in every human being, but certainly with certainly people that have walked our sort of life, like similar experiences. There's like this inner flame, or like there's this inner thing uh that wants to set a sail, that wants to be intentional. It wants to put some rudders on the leaf, and it wants to do things. And it doesn't want to do just anything. It wants to experience the things that it wants to experience. And that's completely okay. That's completely cool, and that's completely okay in my mind. Like, I understand, for me, like I understand that. But I think certain human beings can only float along so long, until finally it's like, you know what? I'm fucking done floating. Like, I'm
Yeah.
free and I'm happy and I'm like, this is okay and life is cool and I'm at home. But like, I want to get out and I want to actually like do some intentional shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want to do some intentional things, and I want to make decisions for myself, and I want to stand in those decisions, and I want to walk around and I want to do things intentionally. Not knowing like what, not knowing like what's going to be involved in all of that, like managing that. Like, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is though that there will be like an internal intention of like, you know what, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to create this, and like get into that doing activity. That's just my belief. And I don't think everybody has that characteristic. I think there are certain people that I've met, or, you know, like they're just complete, and they've always been that way. They've just been comfortable floating around. Like, you know, I mean, dude, I grew up playing with some of the best hockey players in the United States, like some of the best, the most talented hockey guys. A lot of the guys played in the NHL. Some of them are still playing now. A lot of them played in Europe. A lot of them played in Division I college, right? And like, these were all my buddies. And there was always a couple of them that they were just really gifted. They could just play, right? Like Goodwill Hunting could just play the piano. These guys could just play hockey. And like that skill set takes them to a thing. And then like all of a sudden hockey's done. And like there wasn't this drastic like, oh my God, my identity's gone and like I don't know what to do. They're just like, yeah, dude, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And they hang out on the sofa and they're like eating Cheetos and playing video games, like going to the bars and whatever. And then like 3 or 4 years pass and they're just still like chilling and like whatever. And then all of a sudden, like a job comes their way, and they, you know, the girl comes their way and they get married. And there's like no intention.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
oh yeah.
Look at your football buddies. Like, you remember the guys in your team that were really, really talented, and they ended up playing like they ended up reaching a certain level. And some of
Yeah.
those guys' personalities were just like, yeah, whatever.
But that's what
Yep.
was that's what was interesting about, I guess what I saw the ones that were making plays like that that went to the NFL,
Yeah.
they were super intentional. And it doesn't seem like that was a
Some were.
yeah, somewhere. And I don't have the feeling that, because I see them on Facebook, they're still doing things intentionally. It seems like a character trait.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about necessarily about like the NFL guys, like, or the NHL guys. Like, I would agree with you. Like, and even in my case with golf, like it was extremely intentional. But like, I'm talking about maybe the guy that could have, that like had the talent, but wasn't, but didn't have the, maybe the intention.
Oh, that's my story. You get
Yeah,
swept away. Yeah, you just get
yeah, like
swept away.
had everything, but then it was just like you go up and you talk to him. I remember like there was a buddy of mine named Tony, and he had a great career at St. Cloud State University, and was like one of the leading goal scorers in the WCHA his junior year. Really talented dude, but he was just that guy. It was like, Tony, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I don't know, Croons. Like, just playing hockey, man. Like,
Yeah,
playing hockey, right? Like, smoke a few joints,
yeah,
go out to the bars with the boys,
yeah.
have a bunch of drinks, like float around.
Hmm.
Then he gets a phone call, and like this minor league team in like Florida called the Everblades picks him up, and like he goes down there and like plays a bunch of games, and then he's like, yeah, I whatever, like comes back. Like, no plan. There was no vision ever, right? But my point is that he was always just fucking chill, dude. Like he was just flatlined. Like he was just that leaf that was floating around in the wind, right? But I'm not saying he wasn't competitive or driven. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm
I
just
know,
saying,
but you're saying that there's a danger there. There's a danger to being that way.
no, there's a danger of being that way if you're aware of it. If you're not
Wow,
if you're
that's the
not aware,
kicker.
yeah, if you're not aware of it, it's just cool, man.
It's
Like,
just who you are.
yeah, there's just no there's nothing to wake up from, right? Like, because it's just that simple. It's just that easy. And I know people like that, man. I was never one of those dudes.
Yeah, I
Like, I
feel like there's a lot of people in your. I guess yeah, I've met people in your industry, I think, that have that gift. I would call it a gift.
Yeah, I never had that. I was always the other guy. I was like the introverted, like I was the introverted, drive guy. Like, I worked and I worked and I worked, and like I wanted to get as much out of my talent, and I wanted to do everything I possibly could.
So this is interesting. So I noticed that all the guys I played with in college too, because I was at a private school, right? Like it was an
Yeah.
upper scale, high GPA academic school. All the guys on the team that I was friends with, or I'll just generalize it, the ones that were there that weren't playing as much on the field were so intentional about why they were in school that they've gone on to like continue that character trait and create
Yeah.
these cool looking lives, right? And I'm thinking about, I guess I'm thinking about the damn it, I lost the thought. I was going to connect those two with something else that you were just saying.
What about the floating guy?
Yeah, about the floating guy, the laissez-faire, and like, I don't know. I missed it.
Yeah, but it's fast. Like, for me, it's like I'm fascinated, like looking at that, right? Like, it. I was just one of those people that had the characteristics of being, hyper motivated and hyper driven, and like, right, like I had to be the best, and like,
Oh, now I got it. You brought it back.
good.
So like the intentional, like setting, so like I guess to bring it back to the non-dual and kind of where this show has started at for me, just from my lens of perspective.
Right.
I needed to learn how to be intentional with what it was I was doing and where it was coming from.
Yep.
And it's going to get, I guess it's going to get into the esoteric again here now, but I found, and I seem to be finding that the most, I guess the highest intentional aim that I can have is to intentionally be for what is or what wants to be. It's honestly feels like to live amongst life where all games are included.
Yeah.
But at the bookends of my day, the top, the lower, and all throughout is just the mantra and the awareness that I'm living for this thing, whatever this thing wants to be. And that's the game. Like that's where there's an infinite amount of games throughout the day. There's the game externally and the game internally.
Yeah. And like I said, that's a cool place to live from, because, but if I am attached, if I am hooked in, or like something's hooked me, and I've given away my power and my peace and my state of being to whatever that is, the thing will drag me through the fucking mud.
So,
right?
So that brings me to my next question. We were talking
She'll
on the,
drag me through the mud.
yeah.
The money will drag me through the mud. Like the pictures of like some dude that I think is, the coolest guy ever with the hottest chick ever, right? Like that'll drag me through the mud, because I'll be like, oh, I'm not living up to like what I'm supposed to be as this or that, whatever, right? Like I'm saying, like, it's okay, but I can't be hooked into that shit.
So this is from left field, okay? And this is bringing back a conversation from yesterday, but I want to know your thoughts on this. If God, and let's just say God is the reality or this or whatever, still whatever you want to call it, right? Let's just call it God or reality, whatever you want to call it, right?
Whatever, yeah.
If it doesn't care, if it doesn't give a shit, if it's absolute neutral, if it just is, right? Why this, and I'm just sharing, why this elevated level of contentment in my life then? Why a differentiated level of being in my life then? Why do I seem to be getting better? Like, why do things always seem to be getting better?
Well, yeah, that's just
if it doesn't care, right? If it doesn't give it, if it's nullness, void, doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, no, that's just the move. That's just the alignment of the mind. Like that's just the alignment of it's experiencing what the mind would deem an improvement in comparison to what it was experiencing. So it's like I'm better, but it's not better. It's moving. It's moved. It's developed into something different than it was. It's seeing something that it wasn't able to see. So it's conceived as, oh, I'm improving, I'm getting better.
That's how my mind can frame it.
It's like it clicks, right? It's like something clicks and it's like, oh, wow, like this is great. That's why I always say this to guys, like I say this to friends of mine, I'm like, it's not fucking better, dude. And it's not fucking worse. It's just a motherfucking preference. It's just a preference of experience. That's all it is.
But you've seen the people pick up year chips, right? And you've seen them literally stand there and say, the life I'm living, I couldn't have imagined a year ago.
Yeah.
And then people that seem to stick with it, and this is just from the old heads I've been listening to, right? Years down ahead of us, have the same kind of like thread, like it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, because the mind keeps moving into alignment.
But that's I guess the thing I'm pointing at. Alignment with what? Because if it's just a neutral space of, like I guess
what it actually is.
what
like
it
what it
actually is.
actually is. Like what it's moving into alignment with reality.
And then that reality, right? Yeah, I guess you're right. There's no answer to this question.
So no, but so like it starts to recognize, it's like the
Recognize
recognition.
itself.
Yeah, but it's like the recognition of a power source. It's like the recognition, it's the recognition of its like true potential, or like its true nature.
Which is unbridled potential or
Yeah.
infinite opportunity or possibility.
Yeah, and whatever that even means, right? But like, yeah, that's the way I see it for me. Like it, like, and I say this too to people. It's like you have this idea of powerlessness, you know, like, oh, I'm powerless, 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 powerless. I hear that all the time. And my question is, why the fuck are you powerless? You are power. Like, don't you know that? Like, you're it. Like, you have to be. And that is power. That's all there is, you know? Oh, I'm powerless over them. Powerless and powerless and powerless. What? Really? You've been doing this for 10 years and you're still powerless? 15 years and you're still like, the fuck are you talking about, man? Right? Like and power is just the label of like of reality, essentially. I mean, it's like, how can you be powerless?
Yeah,
I'm not powerless anymore.
I mean, there's so much of it. You're swimming in it and you are it. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah. I was powerless. 100%. Total powerlessness. Like I was powerless. I could not do anything.
The better phrase would be, I had control. I don't have control.
Exactly. Exactly.
Maybe it's I say that I'm powerless or whatever because I don't recognize that I'm the one doing, or I'm the one not doing the thing. I'm like, I am that which I'm trying to change. So it feels like I'm powerless, but like I'm doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like I am that. It's a
But you
failure.
hear that all the time, right? It's just, it's a common thread.
It arises just simply, I have an idea that it's possible for me to be something other than what I am right now. Where did that idea come from and why do I believe it? But as soon as I believe that idea, that there's another version of me waiting around the corner that can pop out if I just unlock it.
Yeah.
Then there's this concept of powerlessness. Like,
yeah.
I have this arbitrary idea of what I should be able to be. Why am I not that? Well, if I was that, I would be that.
Yeah.
It's like the non-acceptance of what I am.
Well, and it's interesting too, right? Like you take a look at people that really do this. It's not even stuff, but like if you just like people that get interested in like taking different actions with their feet, like all I see at the like after a period of time is like I just see power. I just see that person having more. There's more options. Like they're doing things like the energy's different and
what's the difference between the new things they're doing and the old things they're doing?
How they're doing it. Yeah, how they're doing it. How a person sees the experience.
Essentially, no action needs to change. It's simply how I perceive the action, the context I place it in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, 100%. But like, I'm also a believer that, under the guise that I had been under for so long, like the idea of moving my feet rather than flapping my gums can allow new thought to, or like a new thought to like, I can become aware of a new thought by what I'm doing. Like, I don't think in that state that I was in that I could think my way out of that thinking. That's what I'm saying. Like, I couldn't become aware of my unawareness.
So the changes and kind of the new way of acting and being, it's still relative. It's relative. I'm better in comparison to what I used to be, or I am this or that in comparison to an idea I have of this or that. No action has taken place, no movement has taken place, no evolution has taken place.
Yeah.
It's a shuffling and rearrangement of ideas.
Right. And then those that have had that experience for themselves can see it very easily in others. Which I think is pretty cool.
I agree. Yeah, I can see changes in people, you know, and you know, the change that takes place. But again, like, that's in comparison to an old idea. You know, in the moment, in what they really are right now, what I am right now. There's no better, no worse, no changing anything.
Right.
It requires me to have this idea of what things used to be like.
Right. In reality. In reality. But it's relevant because I don't always experience reality. So the comparison then becomes essential.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking specifically in reality, it's a moot point. But I, as a person, as whatever I, as a character, don't always experience reality. I will experience the this for the that. And so that's where that becomes relevant, right? Like when you see somebody, quote unquote, grow and develop and whatever, like come into their power, that's obviously in comparison to where they started or what my idea was in relationship to where they started. If it was reality, in reality, I don't see that. I'm like, oh, that person is that, like, it's just now.
Yeah.
There was no idea of where they came from.
Yeah. There's just a happening. There's just
Yeah.
experiencing itself.
Yeah. And I think, but I also feel that like both are relevant. Like
They're intertwined.
Not here or there.
They're intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't have an Eckhart Tolle story without Eckhart Tolle. You can't have a Muji story without Muji. You can't have
none of us would ever have a moment of awakening without any comparison to what we would awake from.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that I watched the character evolve and grow?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And it's also fair to say that that I fall asleep into the character.
Yes.
What does that mean? So when that happens, what is actually happening? When it seems that I'm caught up in the character and believing the story, where did the awareness go? Where did the knowing go? What is actually losing focus? I'm seriously posing this question.
That's a good question. That's a good
because when it's
question.
happening, I'm not there. But I am. I can't not be there. Where did I go?
Yeah.
I literally do not understand what happens when I become lost in thought. Do you know?
I had something happen the other night that I can share that might give us a little something to work with.
Okay.
So I was laying in bed in conversation. Melissa was standing above me in conversation with me. And my attitude, the mood that I was in, it was like I heard the words coming out of my mouth in response to what she was saying. And I was like, this dude is having an attitude right now. And I have no idea why. Like these words, I was like, what? I didn't want to hear anything I had to say. I was like, I'm obvious, like this Adam thing that I'm in is in a mood. And so I just watched it. Because I didn't want to hear me say anything, dude. I was like, I'm not interested. Like, it sounded gross. I was like, why the dude? So I don't know if that answers the question of why I fell into it. And I don't know how long I was in it for either. You know, I was just able to notice it miraculously.
Yeah, what is it that notices?
That's why the word practice makes sense to me. Saying all this stuff as a practice is because I get better at it. And better is a wrong term. It's not a wrong term. We kind of established there's no such thing. It's a comparative term because it's what we're working with. And Peter said it earlier. Peter, you said the thing about Alan Watts that makes total sense. We love, what is it? We love being ourselves. Something like that.
I think human beings love the here it is, there it isn't. Like, I think that's a huge, I think people love that. I know that I do. I mean, I enjoy that.
Yeah. And
I enjoy falling asleep and waking up. And then I enjoy waking up and falling asleep. It's like, well, what the fuck happened? Like, this is fucking wild. You know?
It's lively. And even further, like, and I said it, I mean, I love my own interests. Like whatever it is I'm interested in is uniquely my own. And it can't be a blanket term of the allness. There's like, it's all inclusive. It's me, this, that, it's all of it, but like, it's all dancing. It's all with itself. And and you and Peter and Reed, we're all having there's a me that's playing with itself.
Exactly. I mean, I think some of the coolest experiences I've had in my life is when I've been so fucking crazy, just crazy. Like so stuck to all this shit, you know? And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's just, whoa. What the fuck was I doing?
It's like being on Splash Mountain and you go down the thing and it's scary. It's like, it's a wild, bumpy ride. And then you get into the still kind of smooth, lazy river of the Splash Mountain.
And it's only significant in comparison to how deeply I was caught up into what's going on too. I've noticed lately, like I've not really been getting caught in anything. And so there's no real but when I'm caught in something and then I see myself again, there's a feeling of like release and peace. But when I'm not really caught in anything, there's not a feeling of release because I'm not, as the Zen, you know, great doubt, great awakening, small doubt, small awakening. The more turmoil I'm in, like the more intense the experience of release.
Yeah.
But if I'm not caught up, then I don't have that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also think one of the big cues of pain and anguish is rejecting the understanding that I fucking enjoy it. I think it's a massive massive struggle. Like there's
No,
a
but
part
no,
of
no,
you-
I gotta stop you. I think that's where we have concepts like the devil and sin. Because I don't enjoy any of the pain. But it
Really?
took,
there wasn't any part of you that enjoyed suffering.
Yeah, yeah. Come on, that's not true.
yeah, but that's what I'm talking about, why we have the devil concept.
I know, but I loved it, dude. I loved my suffering.
Mm,
I had a whole fucking identity constructed around my suffering and my pain and how I operated and how I moved, how I interacted with people. It was an entire fucking dogma. I really enjoyed it. But then there were moments where I hated it. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Couldn't stand it.
It wasn't like I ran around like saying I like pain or whatever, but
No, I would deny it.
the whole framework I could build around being this painful character was
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you why, but I enjoyed this kind of gritty martyr like.
Well,
Yeah, that's why I don't think it was an enjoyment. I think it was a fight. It was a fight for my, capital my, existence. And I don't think that was voluntary. Like it was a that's why people can't see it.
Yeah, I didn't recognize that at the time.
no. No. But it's also why for me I love to sabotage things, because when things would get labeled in the good department or the nice department, I would let those ride for a while and then I'd fucking pull it down. And I'd pull it down because I wanted to bring everything back into what was known and comfortable for me, which was the element of suffering, which was the element of chaos, which was the element of like all of these things that were it was, turmoil.
I think that may be
Always,
true for
always.
me, but I've had counselors and psychologists told me that I was doing that for years and years. You're self-sabotaging, you're doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Like I never that was their idea. I never bought into the idea that I was purposefully causing myself pain. But lately I've gained a little insight into that, and I've watched when there's no problems, my brain gets very uncomfortable. It's an extremely uncomfortable state when I don't have anything I need to solve or do. It doesn't know how to handle it. It wants something. I guess the easiest way to get that was to cause some kind of issue.
Yeah.
There's a problem we're dealing with again. But
Yeah.
these states were like, it's not actually like necessarily, but it is peaceful to have nothing to do. But the mind doesn't want peace. The mind is not interested in neutrality and peace. It wants a problem to solve. And so now instead of like, wrecking a car or something, I guess I decide I need to buy a new car. I don't know. I find things to engage myself with,
To work towards or to work on.
but even so, like I've got a lot of stuff going on externally now, but I feel like I'm not invested in any of it. It's very interesting. I haven't bought in. Okay, I'm sure on some level I have bought into the things I'm doing, but I just kind of take the actions when they're needed, and then don't really think about like what I'm actually doing or trying to get or going towards or anything. I'm just it's just like I stopped picking up stuff. Yet I'm continuing to do and build and move forward with all kinds of stuff. But there's not this Battery's running low.
You're doing a jump puzzle?
Uh-huh.
Is
Yeah,
that
it was nuts. I was like, I feel like it's really bizarre when a game is actually like not afraid to challenge you.
I love those jump puzzles, dude. I fucking love them.
I don't understand why more games haven't copied Guild Wars 2. They have so many great mechanics, especially around the questing and exploration.
I don't think the mechanics existed when it came out, because I played it when it first came out, and what I'm playing now is not what I played, I don't think.
It was similar, at least like 2013 or 14. Like I remember a lot of the questing mechanics were like that. I'm gonna plug my computer in.
But yeah, dude, good app.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, are we done?
Yeah, we went to the group earlier, and then I just, as soon as the first 45 minutes was out, I just opened up the pod and we just continued it.
So Peter, what did you think about the group?
Oh, yeah, it was good.
You liked it?
I might go back. I'm not sure. For me, it was like, I said, I shared this with Adam, but it was a bit more like philosophically inclined.
Recording in progress.
Like there were a lot of ideas, like quotes and things, and like, yeah, like different labels and whatnot. But the thing that I did see was that, like, I think there was a genuine energy there amongst the people that were sharing, that like it was something that they were interested in, which I thought was really cool, you know. And they all, you know, they were all there on their own merit, right? It wasn't like they had to get their meeting sheet signed.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool, you know, like that there were people that were talking about it, but it felt a bit academic to me. That was all. It felt a bit yeah, it felt like kind of a philosophy course. But not. It was weird. But yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It the meeting tends to evolve the longer it goes, like the more restarts you stay for.
yeah. And I was only there for 45 minutes, so that's my sample, right? Like
they definitely have their own ideas and language and framework they put in everything, just like any other.
yeah.
It's very interesting.
But
I don't.
It's also very dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, I started finding that I was altering the way I was speaking in order to avoid referencing a hard I.
Yeah.
Because I just like I feel like I'm supposed to like see things a certain way in that group. There's, you know, separate self is just wrong. Not allowed to be a separate self, or whatever. And I found it very hard to speak without altering the way I was talking, because I didn't want to have someone be like, who is blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Well,
you don't know either.
Yeah. Right. It's like this, well, it's like this understanding of like non-duality. I fucking get it, dude. Like, I understand what you're talking about. But that's not what we experience all the time.
Yeah. Non-duality to me is one of the most, as paradoxically, one of the most dogmatic approaches I found to spirituality.
Yeah.
It can like, I mean, that it's not like that group's like horrible or anything, but like it's pretty thick. Like there's a pretty, it's surprising how hard line it is. Like even, I don't know.
And that's okay.
But
That's okay.
some of the people in that group are living that experience.
What I wanted to say, and if I go back again, I might say this, is like, you mean to tell me there isn't anybody in this room or in this meeting that doesn't enjoy seeing it and then not seeing it, experiencing it and then not experiencing it?
So yeah, it's true, because like it's, you know, it's the character that enjoys that. Like
Yes.
but I think it's like recognizing that like they're, you know, it's the one that appears as many, like
Right.
and in a very practical way. It's
I know what you're saying.
Well, that's the cool experience I get when I'm in there is this the idea that everybody, a lot of people in the room know that the self is playing with itself through our own words and experience. So it's like we're mirroring one another. There's this mirroring effect occurring.
And there was laughter, which is beautiful, because you could tell that there were certain people that knew, maybe they didn't, maybe like knowing might not be the right word, but like there was a genuine funniness about the even the conversation.
Yeah.
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 And I just started laughing, and I was just smiling most of the time, because I was like, this is fucking, like, there are some people here that know that this is like almost total bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I appreciated that. There were a couple of people that were pretty serious, like
Yeah.
with what they were talking about, you know, and like understanding the infinite and like what someone can do within the infinite. I'm like,
I thought it
Why
was
does it-
interesting
why
that
does it matter, dude?
the tone of the room, I saw something I hadn't seen before because of Peter. The tone of the room changed. It was like as soon as I said, or you were introduced, minor introduced, because I gave you a longer introduction, but as soon as people knew that somebody new was here, it was like the leaders of the group wanted to express what the group was about for you.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, I was just listening.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like, that was the crash course on philosophy that we were given.
Maybe that's why it felt philosophical. I feel like normally it's not like a philosophy lesson. I don't usually get that vibe.
Yeah,
There's hints of it, but
dude, the best moments I've had, I've logged on a little late, and Alan is just like right up in the camera, just talking his truth. It's like the best. I just pop in and see him. It's great. Yeah. This dude in the group, I don't think he was there today, but he's got some serious Ram Dass vibes. Like, dude is on one.
who?
Alan.
Oh yeah. Oh, I wasn't there today.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, Peter, you got to meet Alan. Yeah, there's some characters that are just worth getting to know a little bit. Just go to a few meetings, meet the characters.
Yeah. I'll probably tune in for another experience.
Feel, Adam, have you been going regularly?
Oh yeah.
I felt like I needed to stop going, otherwise I'd get brainwashed and it would just become an obstacle.
You know, I brought that up today because I sense it occurring within me, and I brought it to the group. But the same thing happened. You know, what is the me that's talking, right? And I laughed. It doesn't mean my concerns weren't valid. It's just, you know, It's for me to figure out, not for the group to figure out.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I choosing not to go. But yeah, I want to be firmly established in my own experience of what I believe and see myself to be, and I don't want my seeing to be influenced in any certain direction. You know, and I sense that was happening there. It's influencing the questions I'm asking and the way I'm looking at things.
Do you feel differently today
About what?
about how you are in the world compared to when you were going?
Yeah, I'm not like,
I'm
it's
curious.
weird.
What? Go ahead.
Yeah, like when I'm in that group, like I feel like there's something I'm supposed to find or change or see. And then when I stop exposing myself to that stuff, I'm just able to see what's in front of me. But it's like
Yes.
that group like encourages me to like, oh, but no, this isn't it. There's something else.
Yeah.
Even though they don't say that. Or it's like, what are you saying?
Well, I'm curious because that's what it has been. And I'm wondering if your awareness of that would create a different experience now.
If I feel like going again, I'll find out, I guess. Yeah, maybe it would be interesting to see.
And that's, look, one of the things that I really appreciated about like our group and like how we talk and communicate is that it's like we're talking about our lives essentially. Like we're not looking at it, we're not looking out of a textbook, or we're not like pontificating a bunch of like a lot of the stuff that we talk about is coming from our experience and like sort of how we see things. And
Yeah.
I think that is really, that's so authentic and it's so genuine. And one of the, like, we just don't care if anyone cares or not care. Like and that's such a cool thing. Like when I jumped on the call today, like I felt it to a certain extent, but I didn't feel like it was authentic. Like I felt like there was some bullshit. Like it was a very not structured, but like there were things that needed to be said in order, because they needed to be said. It wasn't non-PC, it wasn't, non-PC, right? Like it was more educational. It had an educational feel to it. And we don't talk about education. Like we talk more experiential. And like, oh yeah, like I see what you're talking about, or like, no, I don't see what you're talking about, or like, what do you see here, or this is how I experience this, or this is like, that stuff is fucking great. Like I love that banter.
Yeah, and I think some of it has to do with the lineage that non-duality came from, and the teacher, the guru, protege type thing. I think some people feel that they need to honor that hierarchy in some sense.
They got a boner for Rupert Spira.
Yeah,
They love this guy more than his. I mean,
more than
he's more than just another bozo on the bus that happened to have a good lesson at a time or another.
more than
They're like-
SRF likes worships Yogananda.
It's just like, to me, like all gurus fit in the same box, and they're exchangeable and equally useful. Pull one out, like, oh yeah, that's good. Listen to a different one the next day, don't listen to anyone, whatever. But they seem to like, I don't know.
Aren't they
Talk
all
about-
saying the same thing?
Yeah, right. But they put like Rupert Spira kind of like in this special box for some reason.
Yeah.
Isn't that where the group came from?
Yeah, it's a Rupert Spira. Well, yeah, they found the members from Rupert Spira non-duality groups, but like he's just kind of the leading non-dual. I don't know, but I don't understand how in a non-duality group there's just these paradoxes. Like, how do you elevate a teacher in any way in a non-duality group? Or how do you have, you know,
I
beliefs
guess
about,
I guess maybe it's like I guess I'm seeing it like a pointer, like look how that person's swimming. I don't know how to swim that way yet, but I know that guy's swimming pretty good. And until
Yeah,
you're
what-
until
but it's
what?
like, why do I care about swimming like that guy?
Well, that's a great question. That's why do I study Bruce Lee and Alan Watts?
Because you find it interesting.
It's entertainment.
Yeah, it's entertainment.
It's entertainment, but it's also
It also-
like I enjoy it because it's like I'm amazed that I can listen to the same talk or I can read the same book, the same fucking book. In a year ago, I can see it this way, and then a year down the road today, I'm like, holy shit, I missed that entire paragraph, or I missed that entire chapter. Like, I couldn't even see any of that. I couldn't hear what any of that, like the big book, for instance. I was looking at it a couple nights ago before I went to bed, and there was this line that said, we invite our wives or our friends. I had never seen the word invite. I was like, wait, I'm extending an invitation. They can accept or decline. I never could see. I couldn't see that. When I read that, I was already going to like, oh, I'm gonna meditate with my girlfriend, or I'm gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just assumed that the invitation would be accepted.
Mhm.
And then I realized it was like, no, Peter, you can extend the invitation, but whether they do it or not is up to them. Wow. Change the whole paragraph. Change the whole fucking paragraph.
And that same effect can be had with, I mean, anything. Even like,
100%. Food.
I have, yeah, I have that with my
That's-
neighborhood. There are times I'm driving around, I've lived here for over a year, and I'll see something and I'll just get the sense like, I have never seen this neighborhood in my life.
Right.
Like, not like it's all
Right.
fresh and new popping at me, but just like, I've never paid that gentle attention to,
Yeah.
you know,
Because I wasn't capable of it.
I'm filtering out just so much, but just
Yeah.
like,
Crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sat on your golf course in your backyard with a towel and your cat. And it was like I was on like a sand dune beach or something. I could have been anywhere.
yeah. Then you got all the chiggers.
Well, they were, yeah, a few of them. And then people were staring at me kind of funny while they were walking around. Cause I was shirtless, just laid out on the on the green of the golf course.
But you've been there the whole time and they just never noticed in the 10 years that they lived there.
Uh-huh. They didn't notice there was a golf course in their neighborhood.
But so, yeah, why do I, you know what? I'm starting to read Lovecraft again. Just starting to read fiction books. I'm seeing stuff in his writing that I connect with on a different level.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So it applies to everything. Like so what is a teacher? What is a guru? Why do we care? I do it too. I elevate what Alan Watts says. You know, to me, it's like more important than what someone on the bus might say.
Yeah.
But at the same